Good evening and welcome to the news roundup for Monday the 18th of September. Before we get into the news, please remember to like this video, share your views in the comments, and share the video with your family and friends.
Teach them! Always make sure the message reach them!
Now for the news in detail. The Criminal Investigation Branch and the management of the Supreme Court have launched an investigation into the circumstances that led to the theft of a gun from the Gun Court Criminal Registry. It is understood that the semi-automatic pistol was stolen from the registry between July 11 and August 27. 4 rounds along with the 1 9mm spent casing were also stolen. The firearm and ammunition were exhibits in a case in which an accused man was tried for illegal possession of a firearm and ammunition before the Gun Court. The matter concluded on July 26 with the acquittal of the accused. It is understood that the exhibit was placed in a filing cabinet in the office of a court assistant. On August 25th, investigators contacted the court's office to retrieve the weapon and were informed that it could not be located. Other senior Supreme Court staff members were questioned about the whereabouts of the weapon but could not provide a satisfactory response. The matter was then reported to the Kingston Central CIB. Investigators have so far questioned and collect statements from several staff members of the Supreme Court. The man who was fatally shot in an alleged police confrontation on Saturday in Big Lane Central Village, St. Catherine, has been identified. He is a 20-year-old laborer Shaquille Smith, otherwise called DJ, of Board Jungle in Central Village. Reports are that about 10:20 p.m., a police team was on patrol in Big Lane when, upon reaching the intersection of Tate Drive and the Central Road, Smith was seen and he reportedly ran. He was pursued by the police into a premises where he allegedly pointed a gun at the cops. The cops took evasive action and Smith was shot. According to the police, a Ruger 9mm pistol loaded with a magazine containing 6 rounds and another magazine containing 15 rounds were retrieved from him. He later succumbed to his injuries at the Spanish Town Hospital. The Linstead Police in St. Catherine have launched an investigation into the death of a 20-year-old woman on Saturday. Dead is Tia Tamira Ferron, self-employed, of Banbury district in the parish. It is reported that about 8:50 p.m., residents of the community heard explosions coming from a house. A male in dark clothing and a tam was seen running from the area. The police were contacted and a team responded and found the victim inside her kitchen with what appeared to be gunshot wounds all over her body. No motive has yet been established for the killing. A detective corporal who reportedly took an inmate out of jail and allowed him to stay home for a week has been granted bail in the sum of $300,000. Corporal Ricardo Rose, who was assigned to the Halfway Tree police station, was offered bail on Friday in the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Court on charges of misconduct in a public office and aiding and abetting escaping custody. Senior Parish Court Judge Lorian Cole Montague ordered that he report on Wednesdays at the Bridgeport Police Station in St. Catherine and surrender his travel documents as part of his condition for bail. According to the allegations that were outlined in court, Rose took the inmate, who was being held at the Kingston Central Police Lockup in downtown Kingston, out of custody on various dates. The court heard that on the last occasion, the inmate had been out for a week and was allowed to stay at his home. Rose reportedly made checks to ensure he was home and traveled there in marked and unmarked service vehicles. Rose reportedly took the inmate from custody under the guise that he was transporting him to the Halfway Tree lockup for interviews in relation to a fraud investigation. According to the investigator, the prisoner was discovered missing after checks were made about his whereabouts following a bail application. At that time, the Kingston Central Police reported that he was at the Halfway Tree police station lockup, but when checks were made, personnel reported that he was not there. The prisoner was subsequently taken back into custody. An investigation into the matter was launched and a file was prepared and sent to the Director of Public Prosecutions, who ruled that Rose was to be charged. But Rose, in his defense, reportedly indicated that he had taken the prisoner to use the bathroom when he escaped. During the bail application on Friday, Attorney-at-Law Orville Morgan strongly denied the allegations against his client while maintaining that the prisoner had escaped custody. Rose is scheduled to return to court on November 8. The opposition leader is calling on the government to raise the current income tax threshold to $3 million.
Said in May, it is also time to increase the income tax threshold from 1.5 million to at least 3 million to take account of the high levels of inflation since it was last reset 7 years ago and give a reasonable buffer for ongoing inflation, which is still a problem. And we're calling on the government to implement that increase.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness recently indicated that the government is favorably disposed to increasing the current income tax threshold. Currently, Jamaicans earning more than $1.5 million a year are required to pay 25% in income tax, also known as PAYE. No timeline was given for the government's decision to increase the threshold. There was also no hint at what the new threshold might be. The trial of Portland businessman Everton Beachy Stout MacDonald in the murder of his second wife today got underway in the Home Circuit Court. A 7-member jury consisting of 6 men and a woman were selected before presiding judge Chester Stamp. The businessman and his co-accused Oscar Barnes are being tried for the July 20, 2020 murder of his wife Tonya MacDonald. Her partially burnt body was found with the throat slashed and the slump beside her raised car along the Sherwood Forest Main Road in Portland. The lead prosecutor in their opening submission said, "We are saying that they killed Tonya without any legal excuse, and we will bring witnesses here to tell you how it went." MacDonald is being represented by attorneys Earl Hamilton, Courtney Rowe, Christopher Townsend, and John Jacobs. Barnes, whose bail was this afternoon revoked, is being represented by attorney Ernest Davis. The first witness is already serving time in prison for killing Tonya. Meanwhile, MacDonald is also charged with the 2009 murder of his first wife, Marlene. He is to be tried alone for that matter in January of 2024. Investigators reopened that case in 2020 following the murder of Tonya. A St. Catherine lifeguard has been charged with murder following a fatal altercation with his brother last Tuesday. Charges 24-year-old Dylando Bailey of Catherine Mount in the parish of St. James. Reports are that the accused was at his home with his 30-year-old brother O'Shane Bailey when an argument developed. It is alleged that the argument escalated into a physical altercation, at which point the accused choked his brother until he became unresponsive. His brother was taken to hospital where he was pronounced dead. The accused reported the incident to the police, who subsequently arrested him. He was charged after a question and answer interview. His court date is being finalized. There was an increase in the number of calls made to Crime Stop, which rose from 687 in 2012 to 1,148 in 2022. An analysis of the calls showed that 31.7% were related to illegal guns and ammunition. 24.7% were about gunmen. 9.5% of the calls were about wanted persons. 3.9% were drug-related, and 3% were about murders. The report noted that 77 arrests were made from calls received for various offenses. These include murder 11, illegal possession of firearm and ammunition 12, and illegal possession of drugs 14. Consequent to the information received, the following were seized and recovered: 59 illegal firearms, 539 rounds of ammunition, 71.1 kilograms of cured marijuana. The value of narcotics seized or discovered was approximately $2.4 million, and the value of property recovered was approximately $21.4 million, while $7.7 million was paid out in rewards, the report stated. Since its inception, Crime Stop has received 31,161 calls, of which 24,719, or 79.3%, have been investigated. This resulted in the arrest of 2,858 people, 368 for murder, the seizure of narcotics valued at over $871 million, and the recovery of property valued approximately $286.8 million. Some $62.8 million has been paid out in rewards, of which $43.5 million was contributed by the Ministry of National Security, with $15.9 million coming from the National Crime Prevention Fund, which operates Crime Stop. The Westmoreland police are probing the killing of a minibus operator who was gunned down while waiting for passengers in the parish capital, Savannah Lamar, on Saturday morning. The deceased has been identified as 50-year-old Clive Atkinson, also called Grabber, who was of a Savannah Lamar address. Reports are that Atkinson stood beside his bus that was parked in Hendon, Savannah Lamar, when he was pounced upon by 3 men on motorbikes, who were armed with handguns. The bus driver was shot multiple times by the armed assailants. He was taken to the Savannah Lamar Public General Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. Atkinson plied the Savannah Lamar Westmoreland to Montego Bay St. James route. On Thursday, 37-year-old chef Glenroy McNaughton of Darliston in Westmoreland was shot and killed in Savannah Lamar by men traveling on a motorcycle. A person of interest in the investigation into the disappearance of a woman and the infant child she shares with opposition Member of Parliament Philip Paulwell was on an immigration watch list, the law enforcement sources have disclosed. His identity was not disclosed as a top-level investigation is being conducted on a need-to-know basis, sources said. It is understood that the man was turned back by immigration authorities at the Norman Mile International Airport in Kingston after he showed up to board a flight on Friday. The person was on an immigration watch list. He was on his way out and we stopped him from going, a source revealed. However, the man is not in police custody, according to multiple sources. Deputy Commissioner of Police Fitz Bailey declined to comment on the probe when contacted. The investigation is ongoing and I am not going to comment any further, he said. The St. James Police have launched a manhunt to apprehend a male intruder who broke into an upscale gated apartment complex at Freeport in Montego Bay on Tuesday night and stabbed the apartment's vice president. The 73-year-old victim is currently in hospital. Reports are that about 7:30 p.m., the complainant drove home to his apartment at 22 Freeport when he was pounced upon by a male intruder who was armed with a knife. A tussle developed between both men and the intruder brandished a knife which he used to stab the victim multiple times to his upper body. He then made his escape on foot in the area, followed by which an alarm was raised and the police summoned. The wounded man was rushed to the hospital where he was treated and admitted in critical condition. Investigators revealed that at least 3 bloody knives were recovered while processing the scene. One of the defendants who was freed in the recent trial of the Wandon faction of the Klansman gang was killed in a police confrontation in the Bogwalk Gorge on Wednesday. Dead is 28-year-old Damian Elliston. Elliston has a long history of crime and violence, culminating in his killing shortly after he committed a murder in Riversdale, St. Catherine. Elliston came to national attention as an accused member of the Wandon gang. However, he was freed during the trial after prosecutors admitted to having insufficient evidence against him. When Elliston walked out of court a free man, he told a local publication that all he wanted to do was see his daughter after spending almost half a decade behind bars. But 19 days after his release on May 26, 2022, Elliston was back in police custody. The then 27-year-old was arrested on June 14 during an operation in Damhead, St. Catherine. He was charged with illegal possession of firearm after 2 guns were seized during the operation. Elliston was not to be behind bars for long. He was granted bail on July 13 this year, with a stipulation he was to reside in St. Mary. But by August 23rd, Elliston reportedly began to ignore the conditions of his bail. The police believe he had returned to his criminal ways. Reports indicate that Elliston became involved in several shootings in the St. Catherine North Division. The police believed Elliston operated as a hitman and became a person of interest in murders and shootings in the St. Catherine North Division. On Wednesday, September 13, Dwayne Brown was killed allegedly by Elliston. Police sources indicate that Brown was a known violence producer in the Bogwalk area of the St. Catherine North Police Division. Brown went by the street name Wandon and has been identified as an alleged member of the Klansman gang. Police sources say Brown and Elliston are former associates. After allegedly killing Brown, Elliston met his demise in the Bogwalk Gorge. While making his escape from Brown's murder, Elliston and 2 others were confronted by the police. Elliston was killed in the exchange. a woman was taken into custody and several firearms were seized. The police are on the hunt for another man who evaded capture on the day. In business, the cost of goods and services increased by 6.8% on an annual basis as of August. The Statistical Institute of Jamaica says the inflation rate was influenced by an increase in the cost of heavily weighted divisions, food and non-alcoholic beverages, and restaurants and accommodation services. A further increase in cost was altered by a 1.2% drop in the cost associated with transportation. The rate of price increases was just outside the Bank of Jamaica's 4 to 6% target range. For the month of August alone, Statin says prices went up by 1%. The main contributor to this movement was a 1.4% rise in the cost of food and non-alcoholic beverages. There were also higher rates for mobile communication services. The Bank of Jamaica projects that inflation will return to its target range by the end of the calendar year. In sports, the Jamaica Olympic Association, in collaboration with the Jamaica Football Federation and the Bob Marley Foundation, has pledged a total of $25 million to assist the senior reggae girls in their two-legged Olympic qualifying match against Canada. The first game is slated for September 22 at the National Stadium, while the second game is scheduled for September 26 in Toronto, Canada. $15 million will go directly to the Reggae Girls campaign, with the remaining 10 going to player incentives. These incentives include bonuses for goals scored, assists made, clean sheets, and team prizes for Olympic qualification. And on the entertainment scene, Sirani's 2008 single No Games has been certified gold in Germany. The certification commemorating sales exceeding 200,000 units was made available by BVMI in its recent 2023 report, which was posted on its website on Thursday. No Games, which peaked at number 55 on the Billboard R&B and Hip Hop Songs chart in 2009, was previously certified platinum by the British phonographic industry BPI in October last year for sales exceeding 600,000 units. The song is featured on the Unfinished Business Rhythm and was a #1 hit locally before it crossed over to urban radio in the United States. And that is it for your news roundup for today. We would appreciate you liking this video, leaving a comment, and sharing the video with your family and friends. Have a good evening and see you next time.